let's say you were given this point, 1/3, comma, 2/3, and they wanted you to find sine, cosine, tangent. And really, you could actually find secant, cosecant, and cotangent too. But let's start with these first. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to rewrite this point, and I'm going to label it. So this is our x value, this is our y value, right? And then let's go through our sine, cosine, tangent. So sine is going to be our y value, cosine is going to be our x value, and tangent, if you recall, is sine over cosine. So that means it's going to be y over x. And this really only applies if we are using the unit circle. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to plug in these values now. So we have x, we have y. So that means sine is equal to 2/3. Cosine is equal to 1/3. And tangent is equal to 2/3 over 1/3, which we're going to simplify. So 2/3 divided by 1/3, which means 2/3 times 3 over 1. And then the 3's cancel. So what we get is 2. Now, we're not, this is all we're going to need to do for this problem. I mean, we can list it below just so we have it all kind of clean. Sine is 2/3, cosine 1/3, tangent equal to 2. The next thing we're going to want to do is, using a value of one of our trig functions, figure out all of the other trig values. So we're going to find the other trig values. So in our case, we have that cosecant is equal to 2. And if you remember, cosecant, put that down here, is the inverse of sine. So we're going to put sine on the bottom. Okay, now this is what we're going to do. We have cosecant, it's equal to 1 over sine. But to make our life easier, think about how any number can also be divided by 1 and still give that same value. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this 2 over 1. And the reason we're going to do that is, if you recall from the prior one, we said that cosine was equal to x, sine was equal to y, and then we're now going to fill in the rest of these. So we had tangent, which was sine over cosine, which is y over x. And now if we do the opposite, cosine's inverse is secant, so we're going to do 1 over x. Sine's inverse is cosecant, which is actually the one we're looking at, and that's 1 over y. And then tangent, its inverse is cotangent, and that is going to be cosine over sine, or x over y. Okay, so using these values, we're just going to start putting the pieces together. We know cosecant right here is 1 over y, right? We also can look at this value and say that we have the inverse in our cosecant. So if we flip 2 over 1 over, we're going to get sine again. So if we take 2, or 2 over 1, we're going to put in sine right here. And so if we flop it, right, we're going to flop this over, sine is going to be 1 over 2, right? And so what that tells us is that our y value is equal to 1/2 because of sine. Now, we're going to do the same thing with our other values, because remember, we're looking for all of our values. So since we have the y value, we can actually find the x value. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to use the unit circle. Now, the piece of information that's critical here is we're told it's quadrant 2. So I'm going to draw a really teeny tiny quadrant 2 over here, just so we have a little bit to look at. Now, if I know that y is equal to a half, if you recall, there were 3 lines that went over here, right? So this first one was -1/2, and then root 3 over 2. And then we had root 2 over 2 and positive root 2 over 2. And then this one over here was negative root 3 over 2 and positive 1/2. So if our y value is positive 1/2, there's that, which means our x value is negative root 3 over 2. So what we're going to do with that piece of information is if we go back to our definitions, cosine is equal to the x value. So right away, we now have that value as well. So we're going to actually start a list over here and list them. So our sine, we said, was 1/2. Our cosine, because of our unit circle, is negative root 3 over 2. And then we actually already have cosecant because it was given to us. All right, now if we wanted to find secant, because we have cosine, we are going to do 1 over x. Okay, so we're going to take a moment and actually solve for that. So if cosine is equal to negative root 3 over 2, then secant is going to be the opposite. So it's going to be 2 and then root 3 on the bottom. That negative sign still hangs out. But remember, we can't have radicals on the bottom. So we're going to multiply top and bottom by the radical. And so we get negative 2 root 3 over 3. So that is going to be our secant value, is negative 2 root 3 over 3. And then all we have left is tangent and cotangent. So we are going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to remove this. If you need the cosine and secant, go ahead and pause and back up. And so we are going to go ahead and solve for tangent and cotangent. So tangent, we said, was sine over cosine, or y over x, and our sine is 1/2, and our cosine is negative root 3 over 2. So if we rewrite this, we're going to have 1/2 divided by negative root 3 over 2. And then we're going to do the flip because we have a fraction. So 2 and root 3. Okay, and so if we look, these 2's cancel, not the negative sign though. And so we end up with negative 1 over root 3. And again, that radical got to go away. It's on the bottom. So we get negative root 3 over 3. So that's our tangent, is negative root 3 over 3. And finally is our cotangent. So if you need to get tangent written down, please go ahead and write that down. Make sure that you pause. All right, last one is our cotangent. So our cotangent is going to be our cosine over sine, or x over y. So our cosine, negative root 3 over 2. Our sine is 1/2. So we are going to do the same thing. Negative root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, which means we're going to flip our 1/2, make 2 over 1. Notice that the 2's cancel. And then we get negative root 3 over 1 if you want, but then simplify it to negative root 3. And so our cotangent is negative root 3. And that is how you're going to get all of your trig values at the same time.